Awesome, awesome, guys. So, welcome to our Tuesday call, the Cash Flow Empire Tuesday call. So, where we share everybody's journey, people that are killing in this space, people that are action takers and they're killing it. So, right now we have Joseph, right? So, Joseph is a 25-year-old father. He's a savvy investor, and right now they own over 100 units. They have been. I know how much work you guys put into this. It was a lot of hard work, but you guys kill it. You guys close it. So, and his expertise is about communicating with investors, with brokers, and numbers and everything, right? So let me just start the conversation saying, welcome, Joseph, and then if you want to share with everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, and a little bit about your background.
Yeah. Super excited to be here. I know we've had quite a few conversations already, and I really like what you guys are doing. And I just first and foremost just want to say I appreciate you guys having me on. Like, really appreciate it, guys. Also, I am 28, so I'm not 25. I wish I was 25 still. That would be
And you
awesome.
look, I thought you
No,
told me last time you're 25. Okay.
no. I think you got a little bit of misinformation. Somebody was probably trying to help me out. No, but yeah, no, that's on us. Man, it's been a journey. It's been an absolute journey. I guess I should just kind of start from the beginning of how I even got into what I'm doing, right? Um, so it actually all started with COVID and got wiped out, lost our jobs, had to sell my truck, had to get another car that I didn't like, and all kinds of stuff. And we basically were sitting at home doing nothing, my wife and I. And my wife actually, she was the one who was like, look, we got to figure out a way to make money. Like, this sucks not being able to go and work. Like, people are telling us we can't work right now. And so now we're in this position. So because of that, it sparked us to go and like figure something out. And so we did what everybody does. We typed in YouTube, like, how to be a millionaire, how to get rich, right? That's what, at least that's what I think everybody does. That's what we did. It led us to real estate, which led us to wholesale. And then from there, we just watched video after video after video until we understood the concept, but not how to implement. And so with that, I reached out to a friend of a friend of a friend, and we were like, look, this is what we want to learn. This is what we're trying to do. And I need some help. And he's like, I'd love to, but I just don't have time. I've bought some deals from these guys and they were talking about maybe doing some kind of mentorship. You should reach out, right? And so, long story short, we did. It was a great fit. They've never done a mentorship before and they never did one after and they never will. They said it was way too much work and they're not going to do that ever again. But we paid them all the money that we had in our bank account, essentially. We put all that stimulus check money that we got that went straight to the mentorship. We paid them 5 grand and we had $97 left in our bank account, with bills still to come. And with that, we took that and got our first deal was actually a 4 house portfolio. And we made 45K assignment on that. And we took home half of that. We did a 50-50 JV. So that was our first deal. I mean, we made more money than we had ever made. We were making like 30K a year, my wife and I. And so we made more than half of that in one deal in 1 month, calling their dead leads. So that was like a complete mindset shift, a total personality shift, if I'm being honest. Like, it really just changed us and our belief system and just everything about it. Fast forward through that, we went through a rough patch and didn't really get any traction. And we wanted more tools in our tool belt because they only taught us wholesale, right? Cash wholesale. And that, that's like trying to do a job with the wrong tool, right? If you don't have all the tools in your tool belt that you need to do the job, it's just going to be really difficult to do it, or you're not even going to get it done in the first place. So we were watching a bunch of like Pace Morby's videos and stuff like that, and that led us to be more inquisitive about like seller financing and stuff too. And we understood those concepts, but again, not how to implement. So we joined that mentorship. We ended up getting our second deal and our third deal and our fourth deal because of community members, people helping us out. Going back to what you said, Johnny, about not wanting to do this stuff by yourself. And the reason I'm bringing all that up is because that is how our focus, our niche came to be. So with all of that creative financing knowledge, fast forward to about 22, halfway through 22, we hit another pivotal moment in our business, and we were like, look, either we start all over, everything just kind of got wiped out. Either we start all over or we go and do what we really want to do, which is multifamily, right? And we were doing, my wife was doing dispo, and every other buyer we talked to was like, look, I'm actually not buying single family anymore. I'm selling my entire portfolio to go and dump it in the multifamily. And so many people kept telling us that. It really just like kept making us think, is like, do we want to be those people in like 5, 10 years from now? Like, is that really what we're striving to do that? So like, we know all this creative financing stuff. Like, let's just go apply it to multifamily. Let's just go do that. And so we ended up paying for a course. Didn't really care for the course so much, but we got enough knowledge to be able to go and take like action with that. And so in those first 7 months from making that decision of stopping our wholesale business to converting over to just full-time multifamily, we were able to get 2 properties, both of them seller finance deals, a total of 70 units in 7 months.
Hey,
And
Joseph, I hate to interrupt you, but
yeah,
some of my people don't know what seller financing is,
oh,
right? So
beautiful.
we have a lot of newbies, right? So can you explain to us? So, because for example, us, we do syndications, right? So what is the difference between syndication and what you do, which is I love seller finance deals all day, any day. So what is seller finance?
Sure, sure. So the biggest difference, and it's not even really a difference between syndication and seller finance, because you can still syndicate for a seller financing deal. The biggest difference is on a normal transaction, right? What you guys are probably used to is you have to go and get a debt, right? You have to go and get a first position senior debt on the property. And what we do, at least 90% of what we do, is we actually have the seller be the bank for us. So they are that first or even sometimes second position lender for us on the property. So they basically give us the property with a promise to pay them. That's essentially what we're doing. And we do multiple different like forms of that, but that's like the simplest breakdown of how that is.
Now, I am curious, is this something, how are you guys going about finding your deals? Are you guys going through brokers or are you guys just for example, I'm a wholesaler as well, and I use a lot of PropStream. How are you guys going about finding this multifamily seller finance deals?
Yeah, so for what has been like the biggest thing for us, what's been working the most for us is the direct to broker, right? Nothing beats getting, it's essentially free marketing, free advertising. You're doing the man hours, right? So that part's not free. But once you create and establish the relationship, when they get another deal, if they like you as a person, as a buyer, and they trust your credibility, they're going to bring you that deal, right? And if they truly understand what you're looking for, it's going to be a lot more in line with your buy box and what you're actually looking for. So we are basically going and creating all these broker relationships in multiple different markets and letting them know exactly what we're looking for. So our buy boxes, we are specifically looking for creative deals. We're not really touching any of the cash ones. So we straight up asked the brokers, like, hey, do you think your seller would be open to us paying it in seller finance or doing some sort of creative thing like that? So if there's debt on the property, we either want to, assume that debt if there's an assumable debt option there, or what we'll do in the single family realm, it's called a sub two, but in multifamily, it's referred to as like an LLC buyout. So you'll actually, instead of buying the property, you can buy the LLC that owns the property, or at least a percentage of ownership, equity, whatever it is. So that's one way. Another way that we'll purchase a property, not utilizing or not having to go get our own debt, but using the debt that's already there in place. Or if there's no debt in place, we go the seller financing route and actually structure that. Or there's maybe a combination of the two, or maybe even three, depending on how we're able to negotiate.
Awesome, awesome. No, that was good, man. I got a couple points, right?
Mhm.
Because you guys, you say that you already have some knowledge, right? So that's good. You were becoming an expert in seller financing. So you already knew that you're good, right? Because you were killing it. It took you like, couple months to get your first deal in seller financing, right?
Mhm.
But you went straight to another coaching and you trained yourself about multifamily because that's another an area that you knew, right? So
Mhm.
because a lot of people they think like, okay, I know this, I can go and learn the other stuff by myself, right? So that's let me applaud you, man, because you took the step, you took the action and everything, right? But let's go, let's dig a little bit more about this because this is awesome, man. I mean, we just talk here about syndication, raise money, and all the normal way, I will say, right?
Mhm.
But why will a seller will sell a deal? I mean, why somebody will sell a deal, right, under seller financing? What circumstances will let him into you winning a deal under seller financing?
Yeah, it's different for everyone, is the honest answer. And there's tons of reasons why they would want to do that. The obvious answer is in some way it benefits them to do so, right? Or no, I'm just gonna leave it like that. It benefits them to do that. But that is the simplest answer that you can break it down to. Going a little bit more specific into it, I'll give you some examples. The first property we took over, it's in Corpus Christi. It's a 30 unit Corpus Christi. That one, the seller was older. I think he was close to 80, and he just wanted to sell it off. He didn't want to do it anymore. Like, he's a mom and pop seller, which is the most typical option for this type of structure. Um, and he really just didn't want to deal with the property. He didn't want to have to be involved. And he also just wanted the highest price. He wanted the biggest bang for his buck. And he really didn't care if he got it right away. He just wanted to know that it was going to go to his kids. So we structured the entire deal that when he passes, because this is it, here's the big thing is it's a 50-year note at 3% interest, like 50. So we'll never basically never pay that thing off, right? The common thing is you get like a 5-year or 10-year debt, you refinance and you repeat the process. Well, on that one, we will probably never refinance that until way further down the line and just keep paying that off. Like our debt service is like 6 grand a month or something like that. But back to it, he just wanted to know that his kids were going to get taken care of. So that was what worked out for him. And on top of that, he wasn't going to get hit with capital gains because he owned the property for like 30, 40 years. You know what I mean? So he would have paid a huge amount of capital gains tax. And to add to that, we initially gave him a cash offer. And I think he wanted to get think he wanted to get like 2.8, 2.9, if I remember right. And our offer was coming back at like 1.8, something like that, as like a cash offer, go and get debt and buy it that way. And here's an important thing is the only financials we had were what he thought he got as an average rent and what he paid in water bills. We didn't really have a rent roll. We didn't really have a full T12. Like we didn't have, there was a bunch of question marks. So everything that we underwrote, we had to just underwrite based off of complete assumptions. So we took his rent that he said he was getting and we underwrote it at like 65% expense ratio just to like cover our butt, CYA. So that's one scenario. The next scenario, very similar situation. Oh, and let me back up a little bit. On that deal, our cash offer was 1.8. We ended up giving him 3 million, which it was more than what it was worth. But because he gave us those great terms, 3% interest for 50 years, and we only put 5% down, like it just made sense, right? It's about the cash flow at that point. It doesn't matter about the appreciation. Like I will overpay for a property if I know that the deal makes sense. If we can structure it, I always tell sellers, and I think this is one of my best negotiating tactics, and I don't recommend it for everyone, but I'm a pretty straightforward, blunt person. I just tell them like, look, I'm not the negotiator. I'm the numbers guy. I'm only here to tell you what works for us and what doesn't work. And I apologize if I'm blunt or direct. I don't mean to be rude. I'm just like letting you know if it works or not. So the only things that I care about is, will this deal be attractive to our investors? Will they have good returns in purchasing this deal, right? Which are kind of the same thing. And then the last thing is, can I exit the property comfortably? As long as those three things check out, I do not care what the offer looks like, how much we're paying you, any of that. Like, as long as I know that it will be enticing to our investors and we can actually exit and not be in a bad position, we'll make it happen. And usually that gets them right there. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm a transparent and honest person too. That's the way I like to do business. So already I'm like starting off on the right foot for them. Some people don't like it. Don't get me wrong. Some people are like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. The second deal, just to kind of give another scenario of what, like, to your question, like, why would people do that? This seller, he didn't even want to sell his property. He really didn't. His wife told him to sell the property. And as I'm sure you guys all know, what the right wife wants is what she gets, right? That's happy wife, happy life. So he really didn't want to do it, but this guy was a jack of all trades and had way too many hats to wear. He was a judge. He worked at the police station for a little bit. He was part of the fire chief. He also was an attorney. He had a bunch of property, like over 200 units in that one area. It's like a 8,000 population place, like a very small town. So he was basically doing everything and everybody knew him. So this guy, all he cared about was getting hit the price he wanted in less than 5 years. So what we structured with him was 2.9 purchase price, which is what he wanted, with also 3% interest and 17% down on that one. But we also got 5 years interest only and a 5-year balloon, which is what he wanted, right? He wanted that balloon. So to cover our butt, we put in there an extension clause that if we cannot sell the property or refinance the property to pay him back in that 5-year time frame, then we get an automatic 1-year extension, and that continues until we can exit the property. So those are the first two that we got, those first 7 months.
Okay, I am blown away, first of all. And second, I want to know, what type of property was this one? Was it a class A, class B, class C? Was it a value add? What type of multifamily was this?
Yeah, both of those were value add class Cs for sure. Tons of work needed. The first one, over $1 million in capex. We actually partnered up with Pace Morby on that one, and thank goodness, because like you're saying, Johnny, right? You don't want to do this alone. Thank goodness, because had that been my first deal, jumping in, not really knowing how to manage the asset, would have been a nightmare. So thank goodness we have an amazing partner on that who's doing a lot of the legwork for that particular deal. And it gave us confidence going into the next deal to pretty much take on the most of the workload there. But yeah, those are both class C value adds. Like, I'm talking sinkholes in the basement on one of the properties. Like, it was in rough shape, less than 50% occupied. Yeah, it had a lot. And then the second one was just tons of delinquency. Like, that property ended up getting raided by the DEA because there was just so much going on, it worked out for us because we were going to evict them anyway. So it just quickened that time frame for us.
And then how many units in each? I'm curious.
The first one was 30, second one was 40. And then we just closed our third of a 38 unit in September.
Congratulations. You guys are freaking killing it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I love it. I love it. So do you have Pace come into all your deals, or do you syndicate and also raise capital? How is it that you guys structure it?
Yeah, so it just depends, right? It's a deal by deal basis. If one of the pros of doing creative is usually your required equity is a lot less for the most part, right? Like, one of the big issues with the cash deals is what I call them, but like a traditional financing, right now you're coming with like 30, probably even 40% down to purchase it. So that's a high amount of equity. So I mean, you just heard I did 5% and 17%, right? So on those, it definitely reduces our equity workload. And so that allows us to structure them a little bit differently and have a little bit more flexibility. Like, the first one was a JV, right? We had one partner, one capital partner. I think it was 150K plus all the capex, right? That's how much we put down. So we bought a $3 million property for 150K, and one person brought it, right? That's enough for one person to just bring that and take it on. So it allows us to be super flexible with that and actually structure it as a JV. The second one was a little bit like a combination where we brought in multiple investors to take on that property. So it's kind of a mixture. And then the third one was a full out syndication. That one was actually a loan assumption deal. Um, but on that one, it's just a straight up syndication for that. So it's flexible is the answer. You can structure it however you want. I just got connected with these guys from Israel, and they told me like, look, I like what you're doing, and this was from my single family team, right? We sold them a deal on the single family, and they were like, "Look, I see what you're doing. I like this creative stuff. How can we get plugged in with you? Because I have all of these investors. They're Jewish investors." And he was like, "As you know, Jewish people got money." And I was like, "Well, I've heard the rumors, but is it true?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's true." And so he's like, "We have 1.5 ready to just deploy into something, but we're here in Israel. We need somebody in the States." And I actually just got a text from him today saying that he got a seller that's got a property and they're looking for 9 million. He's like, "I think this would be perfect to structure something creative with, but I don't know what to do. Can you help me?" Right? And so I was going for a buyer, found a potential capital partner, and then with that also another deal. So relationships, relationships, relationships.
And that is amazing. That's why I was telling you guys that I was excited about this call tonight, right? Because you see what Joseph is doing, he's creating a win-win situation, right? So he's making money for a guy. He proved the concept, right? So you make money up front, so you make your fee, right? So that's good. But this guy have money. They have investors, right? And he doesn't have the time. He doesn't understand that, right? So
Mhm.
you are creating a win-win situation. You prove that you're real, that you focus in make him win, and now he's looking for more, right? Because he's hungry. He had the people, he have investors and everybody, right? So let's go a little. I'm curious about something, man, because you said that you did creative, and that's, I mean, that looks, it looks like this is your superpower, the creative wave and everything, right? And you also did syndication. For you, I'm being honest, man, what do you think it was easier?
Definitely the creative deals. Yeah. And the biggest part of that is just the equity requirements, especially for somebody newer going into this. It's 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 easy to raise $10 million when you've raised 5 million before, right? But coming out of the gate and never having raised any money to try and raise that 10 million, kind of a tall task, you know what I mean? So definitely the seller financing gives that advantage where you're not having to bring as much to the table. And then on top of that, you're usually able to structure better terms for your investors because the equity is lower, so the cash on cash reflection is a little bit better and the IRR, all that good stuff. It's going based off of a smaller number. But also like on that 50-year note, right? Let's say we brought investors into that. The fact that we had a 3% rate when current rates are in the sevens or whatever at that time, it was in the sevens. Like that's a huge game changer for us. And the fact that we're going to have that fixed for 50 years, it would have been so easy to raise that money for that deal, to be honest. Knowing that now, I didn't know that before. I was nowhere near as confident when we had that. We were like, "Look, Pace, we got something, we know it, but like we like just come do this deal with this." So
So, man,
that's the it's there's some power to it, man. There definitely is some power.
yeah, that is exciting because I mean, at the end, you guys are thinking, okay, how is this possible? Who is gonna be taking an offer like that, right? I mean, there is people that you know how to speak with them, if you educate them, right? If they trust you, they're gonna close the deal with you, right? Because you are solving them a problem, right? They just care about the his kids. He doesn't care to go and pay this much taxes. He doesn't care to make money right now. He just care about the future, and that's something that you are providing to him, man. This is so amazing, man. So let's go a little bit into challenges that you guys have in your journey, because I'm sure you had, especially because it was a big jump. I mean, from COVID to now, just a smaller team, no experience, right? So now
Mhm.
you guys are killing it at the moment. And then after that, if you can follow up my question, just to, you know, you just this last month, man, you had so much. So I would love to brag a little bit about how you're doing. People needs to know what is your team, and what are you guys doing?
Yeah. Do you want me to start with the challenges? Because
Yeah,
there's tons of them.
yeah, let's go, man.
Okay. The first uh, the first one on that very first property, that actually the first two properties, we didn't actually have to go and find them. We were just posting about what we're doing, everything that we're learning, all the knowledge that we're gaining in the multifamily space. And we became recognized as people, the multifamily people, right? My wife and I and our partners at the time, we're the multifamily guys, right? So anytime they had a multifamily property or something they didn't understand, they came to us. And so that's how those two deals came to us. On the first one of the people that brought it to us, I don't know this for sure, but this is my perception of it. I think they were intimidated by the fact that we were younger, and they came to us, and one person wanted to work with us, one person did not. And the person that did not was older, in their 50s or 60s, I don't really know. But it was very apparent that they didn't like being told what to do or what they should do from the people that were half their age. So that ended up becoming a really huge problem along the way, to where we ended up having to buy them out of the deal because none of us were comfortable enough to go into an LLC with this person because he was sabotaging the deal. He actually purposely sent the wrong contract and told misinformation in order to kind of blow it up. And so we caught this person. We like straight up asked and they denied it. And then we went and asked the seller, like, can you confirm this? And like, yeah, this person sent me this person did this. So like we know for a fact it happened. So that was one big challenge that we had to just kind of figure out. Uh Another challenge just along the way in general, you will be aligned with people for periods of time. It doesn't mean that you will always be aligned with those people. And one of the lessons that we learned is having those upfront contracts, those upfront conversations and expectations on what to do when we're no longer aligned anymore. That would have been a huge learning lesson that we could have implemented early on that we didn't really know, which everything is amicable, but it could have been so much smoother of a transition if we had already had those conversations beforehand. So that I'll just add that was one pretty big challenge that we came across. The next thing I'll say, like I said, raising money is not as easy as people make it seem. You definitely have to put yourself out there and educate people. That's really what it's about. And when people trust and they're familiar with you, they will be more inclined to invest with you or do deals with you. So even though we have been doing it for a while and we've built up kind of that trust system, raising the money was pretty difficult in some places. It's not always about the deal. It's a lot of times it's about the person running the deal. Uh, Another one that we ran into, I won't say which deal this one was on, but we had some people that were supposed to be doing the capital raise. Um, They were supposed to, and they kept telling us like, "Yeah, we got it. We got this commitment, this commitment, this commitment." And then when it came time, like, "Okay, we're creating the opportunity, we're creating the offering. Go back to all your commitments and let them know we're ready. Start wiring over the funds." And so when that happened, we got no investors from that group, like literally nothing. Yeah, Lars said it right, crickets, absolute crickets. So we ended up just saying like, look, it's actually, we didn't even say it. We were getting really close to the finish line, like less than a month away. And we already had a bunch of hard money into this deal, right? Over a couple hundred grand. And they gave up. They were like, yeah, it's not going to happen. I think the best thing to do is to just bow out. Like respectfully, I bow out. I'm like, yeah, that's great and all. I appreciate you letting us know, but like you're just dropping it. Like I thought we were in this. Like so that you really need to trust who you're working with. And just because someone says they can raise capital doesn't mean that that's true. And raising capital on the single family side is totally different than raising capital on the multifamily side. So definitely keep that into consideration. And then the last thing I'll say is really, I'll just say two things. Really do your due diligence when you're looking at these properties, because it's better to lose a small amount of money up front than lose a huge amount of other people's money on the back end. So make sure you're doing your due diligence. The reason I say that is we were looking at this one property in Longview, Texas. They told us it was going to be like 200K of repairs. We said, great, put that in our underwriting. Went and walked the property and something just didn't feel right. So we asked, can we bring our plumber and check it out? They hesitantly said yes. We brought them out, and just on the plumbing alone would have been over $1 million in capex, not including anything else, right? From their 200 for everything to $1 million just in plumbing plus everything else. And we found out they had 5 down units that were completely mold infested. Like they would not even go in those units. It was so bad. The last thing I'll say, and with that, scope your plumbing lines. Like that's the one thing that we do for every property is we scope the plumbing lines. Doesn't matter what it is. That was just something that we learned early on. The last thing is your property management. They will make or break a deal. And it happened to us on our second one where we were too trusting. We didn't know any better. And they blew our budget. They really did. And they were not active. They were not like they were telling us that we weren't getting any activity on potential tenants and prospects, that, you know, it was just the area. And so eventually we ended up just firing them early. We terminated that because they a whole bunch of other stuff. And we self-managed for like 2 months. And in that time, I was so overwhelmed with prospects for the tenants that I couldn't do anything else in my other businesses because I was just taking those calls. So for them to say that there's no activity was just absolute crap. They just were not, they were trying to automate everything and not be proactive and reaching out and not doing any of this stuff or even answering their phones. So do your due diligence on property managers. We interviewed almost 30 for our third property because of that experience before we found the one that we felt good with. And it's a night and day difference between those two.
So we have a question in the chat. Willie, are you available?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, go ahead then.
Thank you, Joseph, for joining the call and adding so much value to our community. Letting them know your experience. I have a question. Who was your first investors? Was it family and friends or complete strangers?
It's a little bit of both, honestly. Well, I say a little bit of both because I didn't know some of the people, but they knew us, right? So we had our friends and family as well. Less of the family and more of like friends that are basically family, and especially those that understand investing and entrepreneurship. Those my our family is great, don't get me wrong, but they, if I ask them to explain what I do for a job, I don't think they could do it. You know what I mean? I don't think they really know 100%. Like they know I'm in real estate. They know kind of the high level, we buy apartments and we sell stuff, we sell properties, but they wouldn't be able to explain those things. So family, I wouldn't recommend as like your first go-to. Definitely ask, right? But I wouldn't bank on them. They're, yeah, Lars said they're the hardest critics. They definitely are. And the reason I said both is because the biggest investors were the people that have been watching our journey and following us, and they joined our community and they see our content that my wife does and all kinds of other stuff like that. They felt comfortable with us. They felt that we were familiar to them. They trusted us. They had some level of trust in us. So I didn't really know them, right? Like me and the team, we didn't personally know them or couldn't tell you their whole story, but they knew us. They felt that they were our best friends because they had been with us and watched our journey as we grew in this space.
Yeah, you shared a really important point. As simple as that, guys, is just share your journey, because you know, we still have investors that after 2 years and they saw all the growth and everything is when they were ready to invest, right?
Mhm.
But if we were not posting for 2 years, you know, like doing the podcast and all those things that you guys see that we are doing right now, people will not be investing with us, right? So if you guys are not sharing your journey right now, if you're already actively doing something related with real estate, with multifamily or something in general, I mean, you're missing out of a lot of things coming for you in the future. So Joseph, you brought a really interesting point because it's about sharing your journey, right? So you are not doing it is because, you know, what I always say to people is like, you know, you always think about people, what are they gonna say about me, right? So it's not about that, guys. I mean, you think about the critics and the haters and everything, but you are not thinking in how much people you are impacting by sharing your journey, because a lot of the people are gonna decide to take action, right? By seeing Joseph, by seeing Joshi, Willie, and everybody. Hey, these guys are killing it. I wanna do the same, you know. These guys are waking up early. Like the other day, we have a conversation. We have a meeting right now. Like it was like a 7:30 a.m. or something, Joseph, because that was the only time that we have available, right?
Mhm.
Man,
Yeah.
it just whatever it takes, right? But that's when you know that somebody's aligned with taking action and journey, right? He just told me, man, the only time I have open is 7:30 a.m. And I said, yeah, at that time I'm done with the gym and everything, so I should be good to go. So let's go, let's meet, right? So thank you, Joseph, for sharing that, man. So what are you working on right now, man? Let's share with everybody, because last month that was, I'm not sure if that was your biggest month, but you guys did a lot.
Yeah. It definitely was, man. Prior to that, we had not really done anything like that. So last month, just on the single family side, we got we got 14 contracts on the single family side. We've sold, I think, one or two of those. There's a couple that are in escrow about to be sold. And we have a bunch of interested buyers on those. And then we also got an RV park under contract on the multifamily side. So a total of 15 contracts just in the month of March. Here's the disclaimer, right? Month of February, we had no contracts, like zero. So you want to make sure that you're consistent and you're not getting hung up on just one deal. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much what we're focusing on now. The only reason I still wholesale is because it's the active income. It pays my bills, basically. I really enjoy multifamily. I don't really enjoy wholesale. It's a means to an end for me. So as soon as the cash flow from our apartments can replace what I can do on the wholesale, then I'll step away from that or put somebody else in place to kind of just take over and run it. And then on the multifamily side, we have another one that we've gone back and forth on offers like so many times. I think we've sent like Lars like 8 counters. I think I see Lars, my team in here. I think it was like 8 counters so far, and we're right on the cusp of getting this one under contract. I know that we are, and we actually already pre-sold this one to I call them the VIP buyer, right? I get close with a couple different other buyers so that when it's something is not really a fit for us, whether it's a market or I don't have people out there, whatever it is, I still, if it's a good deal, we can structure a good deal. I still want to be able to give that to somebody or find a way to be involved in that somehow, some way. So I may be misremembering some stuff here, but I think the last offer that we just sent was like a 7.7 purchase price, but I think like 1.7 down. And that was, I think, 7-year balloon is like amortized over like 30, 40 years or something like that. And is 0% interest financing. Not completely seller finance, no other loans involved. So I am stoked. I'm like 90% confident that we're going to get that locked up on this final one because they asked us for our buyer questionnaire and our underwriting. So they had not previously asked us for all of that before. So now I know we're right there. And that one, the way that we've been structuring our business model, and this is what we were just kind of talking about before, me and the team, we are mostly focused on the acquisition side and the raising capital piece, because everybody should be raising capital. No matter what you're doing, you should always be raising capital. But the acquisitions is where we excel. Johnny said it best earlier, right? the seller financing, the creative piece, that's our superpower. That's what we know how to do, that we do it well. I'm okay with operations, but I don't want to do that. To be honest, I really don't. I don't want to deal with any of those calls. I don't want to have to be in those meetings. I already have too many meetings. So I prefer to partner up with people that I like, know, and trust to take over that piece, and they can handle that. Even if I'm taking a much less slice of the equity, I'm essentially getting into deals by finding them, structuring them, putting them together, and then bringing the partners into the right pieces. And then I get a silent piece of equity along the way. So on that deal, we're going to actually assign it to the buyer, take home a six-figure assignment. Our buyer's broker is going to get paid. The seller's broker is going to get paid, and we'll be able to get some equity in there. And so like we don't have to worry about the operations. Somebody else is taking care of that. And I know that they'll do a good job because I've seen them perform on other properties.
You just keep blowing my mind. Wow, I am impressed. We do have a question in the chat from Gabrielle Walker. She asked, how do you know when the investors are the right fit for you?
Good question. I'm speaking for me and my wife here, but we are, if you've probably heard the phrase, your vibe attracts your tribe. So one of the best parts about this business is you don't have to work with everyone. We only work with people that align with us and what we're trying to do. So we've actually turned down some people before because either they said something that was just outlandish, or we just did not agree with their sentiment or whatever they said, right? So it is one of the number one things for us. So if our core values do not align with you as a person, then it's probably not going to be a fit for us in the long run. Yeah, and KJ said it. God is our number one. So that's a huge indicator for us. Like usually if someone's like, yeah, I prayed, or I love Jesus, or anything, right? Oh, boom, you're in it. You're in it to win it. That's an indicator that we're in alignment. But that's not the only thing, right? That's just one of them. And so usually we can pick up on that pretty quickly. My wife is better at that than I am. I'm believe it or not, I'm usually the nicer one. I believe there's good in everyone, but she's got a radar, man. She can spot it before they even get 3 or 4 words out. She knows it. So usually if she says it's a no-go, I'm with her. It's a no-go. But yeah, you will know if there's something that's not in alignment. We actually have one that we've worked on where we are not in alignment, and we figured that out pretty quickly. We didn't see it right away, but as things went on and we saw things, we learned that we were not in alignment. And so again, it's about having those upfront contracts and setting those expectations ahead of time if there comes to be a time where that's the case, and you're no longer aligned, and people change, right? It's not always this way for eternity. People change, they really do.
Yeah, no, especially when the things are not going how you were expecting, right? Because everybody's happy, everybody's having fun when the things are going in the right way, but sometimes in the economy change, in something happened, right? Like a fire in a building that you guys own. I mean, that's when you see some people in the team that they change, and the things can turn really really dirty, right? So that was a really interesting point that you shared, Joseph, about setting up expectations, contracts, and everything, because that's something that we like to ask our partners. Okay, what about if we get to the point, because we never know, right? I mean, that's why in every single deal we cannot say that there's going to be 100% guarantee. That's the reality, right? Like anything can happen, like earthquake, I don't know, something can happen, like natural disaster or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So we need to make sure that people have expectation, and you guys, okay, what happened if we get into this point, how everybody's going to be reacting, okay? So that was a really good point. So we have a Mark with your hand up. Let's go ahead, man. Welcome to the call, and do you have any questions?
Hey, good being here again. Yeah, I don't know if I missed this or not, but earlier you said, Joseph, you said that like if you were raised 5 million, it'll be easier to raise 10 billion the next time. And for me and my wife, we're doing this together too. We did our first raise for our first deal, And we started with our friends and family, which is very interesting because everybody was saying, you know, family is the hardest critic and everything like that. But our family were actually the most supportive, right?
That's
But they only have so much, you know, because we're the trailblazers. We're the first ones that brought multifamily to the field. They don't know anything about multifamily. It took us 4 months to educate them, and then finally got them on board. Of course, you know, there's always the doubters that want other people to go at it first, and they want to wait until they see the success first. So we basically like capped out on everything that we can raise from our friends and family. What would your advice be for us to continue raising outside our friends and family? Because we feel like we hit like a plateau.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. I really do. Because like I said, that we got to a certain point, we raised it no problem. And then once we had to go outside of that point is when we started running into those issues. It got harder, more difficult to go and find that money. So the short answer is you need to make more friends, right? You just got to go and talk to more people. That is really the short answer. But the ways that you can go about doing that, networking meetups are great. They are really, really great to just go out and meet new people and get connected. What I would not focus on, and this is where I personally, I think a lot of people mess up, is you're out there trying to pitch a deal or pitch yourself to people at meetups. What I think you should do instead is just pitch who you are as a person and just become friends with them, make genuine connections, and then hit them up later and say, hey, by the way, here's what we're working on, or here's some of the upcoming things, just in case you want to know. If you want to hear more about it, I'd be happy to jump on a call with you, stuff like that. Yeah, Lars said a good point. Also sharing your story. Again, back to the journey thing. So that's going to be one really good way. I also would recommend not necessarily only going to real estate events, because what happens when you go to real estate events is at the real estate events, you're going to be coming across people that are like you, entrepreneurial minded, and they're wanting to be active. They want to go and own the property, and they want to do all the things. They want to be involved in every part of it. You're going to find GPs at real estate events. You will find some LPs, but you're going to mostly find GPs or other people that want to get involved. So those will be great partners for you. Those would be great people to send you deals. Those would be great people to learn things from, but they won't be the best investors. The best investors are going to be from other groups outside of that. Like if you go to, there's one group that my wife just joined that everybody in there is a multimillionaire, super wealthy, and they have tons of money, but they don't know what to do with it. They're just like, I have all this money sitting around and I need to put it somewhere. I think she talked to somebody and they're like, yeah, I got 30 million. I just don't know what to do with it. I'm like, that's fantastic. Just come with me. We can go buy a couple deals, right? So it's just about finding the right people. Yeah, KJ is like, it blew my mind. If you want to find that group, reach out to KJ Mudd. That's her secret sauce. I'll let her tell you all about it. But yeah, it was a really cool experience, and it's funny because she came back and she's like, "Don't be mad, but I joined the mastermind." She's like, I spent X amount of dollars and we just joined it." So I mean, it paid off already in dividends. Another good thing that you can do is start hosting meetups, and it doesn't have to be in person. It could be virtual, like what we're doing right now. But by having your own platform, whether it's in person, virtual, or whatever, or combined with somebody, you're going to set yourself up as a credible person or a trusted source in the space for what it is that you're doing. And so even if you're not the one talking, right? For example, right now, I'm sure everybody in here has some kind of respect or trust factor of credibility with Yoshi and Johnny right now, right? Because they put on this platform, they brought on a credible guest, somebody that can teach stuff, even if it's something totally different from what you guys are learning normally. They're providing this platform, and that's something that anybody can do for sure. I know my wife loves creating events, and so she's trying to have something that's a little bit different. Versus most of the time you'll go and it's like at a bar and it's super loud and you can't really hear anything. So what she wants to do is create like a picnic family day where because we have a 1-year-old daughter and we can't bring her to those, so one of us gets left out when we go to the event. So we're gonna have a picnic day and actually combine with our community, our people, and that same group that she just joined. So all of the money people, along with the people that have been following us and doing what we're doing, and can kind of combine the two. So that is not my department. We stay in our lanes. That's all her. I have no involvement on that. I just show up to stuff like this and talk about what we're doing.
Thank you for all of that.
Sure.
Love it, Joseph and Mary. That was a really good question. Hey, Nancy, good to see you. I love to see couples in here. That's amazing. And Joseph, I think last time we saw each other in person, you actually you brought your baby and your wife, man. That's how committed you
Really?
are, right? So I see you guys couples, man, just taking action, and I'm so blessed to be surrounded by you, people like you that no excuses, you just take action and show up, right? I love that. So Gabriel, it's good to see you again. So go ahead. That's your question.
This is so valuable. I really appreciate what you're sharing. How do you know like what event like especially like when you have a family that you want to invest into going?
Sure. I got to give credit where credit is due. This is not my idea. I'm also part of another mentorship mastermind with Vina Jetty. She's doing her multi-fi event. So I have the right partners, right? I have the right mentors. But in that, she talked about creating or finding who your investor avatar is and really defining that and figuring out who are you trying to find, right? You guys have probably heard the phrase where it's like you don't want to cast a wide net, you want to go deep, right? It's the same thing when you're creating your marketing or looking for investors. So you want to really figure out like who it is that you are looking to raise money from or get investors from. So like, for example, our investor avatar, and again, this is all KJ. She's our brand, she's our marketing. She comes up with all this. I'm just the numbers guy behind the scenes and tell people that things they don't want to hear. So our investor avatar, and we didn't really figure this out. It kind of happened for us, but our investor avatar is families, people that are trying to get out of the W-2 realm. Oh, look, here's her pitch. Says, my name is KJ and I help families escape the 9-to-5 grind and build generational wealth by investing passively in multifamily. So that's our investor avatar. We're looking for families, people that are in that 9-to-5 and they're trying to get out of that rat race. They're trying to put their money that they're working so hard for into something instead of putting it in a 401k or all these other things and just leaving it there. Did y'all know that you can actually put it in like a self-directed or a 401k and utilize that money to go and invest into properties or buy properties with that money that you're already putting aside? You just have to make sure it's in the right account or the right operating account, right? Vehicle. There you go. So really figuring out that, like I have another friend of ours, her investor avatar is engineers. She comes from an engineering background. She's like a recruiter at Apple. And so with that, she specifically understands engineers and how they think and what they're trying to accomplish, and she can relate to them very well. So that is her investor avatar. That's not to say that's the only people that you're going to get, but if you really focus your attention and activity towards a certain group of people, you're going to be able to reach more people. And you're also going to get other people outside of that group because they're some way, shape, or form, they're relating to what you're saying, even if it's not necessarily directed at that particular person.
Love it, love it. That was really good, man. And we're getting until top of the hour, man. So Joseph, do you have any social media or something that you want people to connect with you, man? Because you always provide so much value to people, man, that we're really aligned in the same thing. Because, man, you guys trust me. When you focus your business and provide value to people, Vanessa, that's a game changing, right? And Joseph and his team, they understand that. That's why we're doing this show every single Tuesday. That's why Joseph is creating multiple events, providing value, being part of this call, right? So I'll let you go, Joseph.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. Easiest thing to do is to just connect with me on Instagram. I try to go through them daily because that's where most of our buyers on the single family will reach out to us either through Facebook Messenger or Instagram. So I'll go through and try and clear those out. So if you reach out to me on there, I should be able to see it, and then we can connect further and I can plug you into the right spot, like whether you want to invest with us or you want to buy something from us or you just want to chat and get education or help with something. Then I'll be able to kind of like, all right, here's my number or here's the link for that. Try to divvy it up. So Instagram is going to be the best way if you just want to like contact me or the team. If you just want to like see what we're doing, we're trying to push everything towards YouTube. My wife does all. I'm not the social media. I don't do any of that. Right, that's not my lane. We had to figure out who was it, Mark, and anybody working with a wife or husband or significant other. Figure out what roles you guys are doing and stay in your lane. That's all I can say. We didn't learn that one for a good while. Um, but she's been working on our YouTube, putting things together, and we have Jada who helps us put that content together as well. She's awesome. So go check out YouTube if you just want to like just see some of the videos. We have free content on there. But those are the only two that I'll really promote, anything like that.
Love it, love it. No, thank you so much, Joseph, and I know that your wife is behind the scenes, so I appreciate you guys being part of today's call. For everybody, remember, every single Tuesday we're here with you, and you again, just connect with Joseph. He's an asset. I mean, as simple as that, right? He's gonna be providing a lot of value, so that's somebody that we recommend you guys connect with. And I'll see you next Tuesday, guys. So thank you for being part of this call. I'm gonna stop the recording, so I'll see you guys next week.